Welcome to the Luke Macias Show. This week, the Texas House of Representatives passed school choice and voted on celebrating the life of Cecile Richards, probably the single largest advocate for child murder in the state of Texas. And we will tell you the implications of that vote this week. Let's get to the show. I will start this week's episode on a little more of a positive note, and that is the fact that teacher unions' grasp on the state of Texas has significantly diminished. And this has been a fight for a very long time. In 2021, there was an up or down vote on basically saying there can be no funding from the Texas budget that goes to school choice. And in that vote, there were only 26 Republicans that actually voted for school choice and against teacher unions. That is an incredibly small number. And then you look at so it was 29 Republicans. And then in 2023, the same battle happened, and they knew that Governor Abbott had prioritized school choice at the time. And 63 Republicans, so up from 29 to 63 Republicans, voted against teacher unions and to say we can have tax dollars follow the child. Right? Tax dollars can follow the child, and parents can be empowered to take that money to institutions that are going to better educate that child, which of course is strongly opposed by teacher unions. From 29 to 63 votes. And last night, actually technically early this morning as I'm recording this, 85 Republicans voted for Senate Bill 2. Now you might say, how did 85 Republicans? I thought there were only 74, 75, 76, 77 public supporters of school choice. And the reality is that when the grassroots fight hard enough and elect enough conservatives who are not being held down by teacher unions and the Democrat agenda of killing school choice, once you have 76 or 77 votes, what you often see happen is that those Republicans who are holding out on that issue won't actually vote no. They don't want to take the bullets if they know the vote is going to pass, which is why each and every battle that you have engaged in for the last 2 years matters. I was talking to Dr. Jim Leininger, and Dr. Jim Leininger is somebody who has a significant impact on my family because he is the gentleman who was most supportive of my dad when he ran for the legislature against an anti-school choice, liberal Republican teacher union advocate, the woman who my dad beat for the legislature, Carter Castile. When we defeated her, one of the things she did was go to the Capitol and become a lobbyist for teacher unions. The Republican became a lobbyist for teacher unions after my dad defeated her in 2006. So this is a fight that's been happening for a very long time. And Dr. Jim Leininger at the time was spending millions of dollars trying to help elect more grassroots conservative Republicans. And we were falling short time and time again. But finally this session, we have seen that a school choice program is going to pass. Now, I know some of you, in fact, I was given some speeches in the last couple of weeks where some grassroots members came up and said, I have heard that school choice is going to change homeschooling forever and change private schools forever. And the reality is that I've answered those questions time and time again. The left does not pass school choice in their states to affect or change in any way their control of homeschoolers. They do not see it as the vehicle to do that. We do not see a correlation in the other 20 states that have universal school choice. They have not increased regulation on homeschoolers statewide while expanding their school choice programs. So I do not believe that that concern has merit. And I think that you will see that as well. And I think we should all be really, really, really grateful that yesterday one step was taken towards loosening the grasp that the Texas State Teachers Association and all the other teacher unions have had on Texas government. That will bear itself out in many other bills this session. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick actually put out a great statement earlier. And this is it is a reminder that yesterday or early this morning, the Texas House passed a great conservative Republican bill. But we also just need to be reminded that the Texas House is working very slowly. And often we have to set our expectations correctly and remember that the House has really low expectations. When they do one really good thing, they usually don't want to do another good thing the next day or another good thing the next day, which will actually lead to the last part of today's episode. But Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick put out a fantastic statement. Now, I will set the stage for this and say that the Lieutenant Governor has tried and been patient, clearly, with the Texas House of Representatives he has tried to maintain a good relationship, which I think anybody who has watched the legislative process would say that he has maintained a good relationship with the other side of the chamber, much more so than he had last session. But we are getting to the point in the session where every single day the Texas House either needs to deliver conservative wins for the people of Texas, or the people of Texas are going to lose out on an opportunity to get good conservative policy for the next 2.5 years. And here's what Lieutenant Governor Patrick said this week. As of the end of last week, this is from his press release, Dan Patrick. As of the end of last week, the Senate had passed 392 bills over to the House, including 32 of our top 40 priority bills. My goal is to have almost all the top 40 priority bills passed over to the House in the next week. Many of those priorities are strong Republican conservative policies that are supported by the grassroots, that are endorsed by different groups, that the Texas GOP has identified as legislative priorities that the governor supports. So those are some great bills. In my 10 years as Lieutenant Governor, this is back to Lieutenant Governor Patrick's words, I have positioned the Senate so the clock is not our enemy. We talk a lot about that on the show. So that the clock is not our enemy, which is why we get our work done passing Senate priority bills by mid-April. If the clock kills important legislation, it is on the House, not the Senate, which is an undeniable reality. It's not an accusation, it's just a statement of fact. Meanwhile, at the end of last week, the Texas House had only passed 23 bills. So 392 bills have passed the Senate, 23 bills have passed the Texas House. Over to the Senate, the 392 bills passed by the Senate is more than 17 times the work the House has done so far. This is from Lieutenant Governor. The clock is rapidly ticking towards June 2nd, sine die, end of session for the Texas House, only weeks away. The Texas Senate has been working nonstop on the people's business. The Speaker is still saying the right things publicly and privately, but as every day goes by, great conservative Senate legislation is at risk of being killed by the clock. I eagerly await the Texas House's action on the bills we have passed over to them already, including all 32 of our top 40 priority bills, some of which will still sit idle, not even referred to a House committee at this time. Now, what is he saying? There's a couple things, especially at the end of that statement, that he's saying. He's saying we are having very productive conversations privately and publicly, but as he has said, and as we have all said, at the end of the day, it's all about what bills pass and what bills die. Guys, listen to me. Senate Bill 12 passed the Texas Senate on March 19th and was received by the Senate on March 20th. This bill, one of the things it would do is get gender ideology out of the classrooms. It has not been referred to a committee. Senate Bill 12. It has not been referred to a committee. It could be referred to a committee. It has not been yet. It needs to be referred, then it needs to have a hearing, then it needs to be voted out, then it needs to go to calendars, then it needs to get to the floor. A perfect example of what the Lieutenant Governor is talking about. So listen to me when I tell you that there is still much work to do, but we should recognize and appreciate the fact that the teacher unions have a lot less control of Texas government based on the fact that school choice passed the Texas House floor. It already passed the Senate. We will see what they do in conference. When it gets to the governor's desk, the governor has made it abundantly clear that this is something he will definitely be voting or signing into law. So that is a great accomplishment. And the grassroots should not underestimate the extent to which this matters. I'm going to talk about and bring to light to you a very controversial vote and discussion that happened in the Texas House after this break.
America is at a crossroads. Now, more than ever, Texas must step up and lead the country. We don't have time to mess around. The only way to save America is with a strong Texas. You and I know this, but so do the enemies of life and liberty. Therefore, you and I have no choice but to stand up and fight. I'm Sarah Gonzalez, and to the enemies of liberty, I say, come and take it.
For the second half of our show today, I am going to first and foremost proceed to a clip from the House floor. And this is going to be one of the most important conversations that happened this session. And it might seem that that is unlikely to be the case for a resolution, but ultimately, Chairman Jared Patterson decided to work with Democrats to try to pass a resolution celebrating the life of Cecile Richards, the largest proponent and advocate for child death, maybe in American history. She was the president of Planned Parenthood, I think the longest serving president ever in the history of their organization. She raised massive amounts of government funds for them and private funds and organized the death and facilitated the death of more than 3 million children during her time as president of Planned Parenthood. And Jared Patterson hatched a scheme to try to praise and memorialize and celebrate her life, have the state of Texas, the government of Texas, celebrate her life. And it failed. You need to watch or listen to, if you're listening to this, the conservative champions in the legislature fighting back, and then I will explain what happened when we come back.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I want to first off say, if you have memorial resolutions that you truly care about that matter, I would ask you to resubmit them. But the problem is, today, on this calendar, we have that we're honoring Cecile Richards, who is president of Planned Parenthood, who is responsible for the death of 63.6 million babies. And I know that's an uncomfortable truth. And I'm doing my very best to speak with compassion when I say this, because what I understand to be true is that we are a pro-life state that has passed legislation that lines up with our biblical values that says life begins at conception, and that is why we protect the unborn in this state. And yet, we have the audacity as the Texas House to bring before a resolution that honors a woman that perpetuates the murder of children. Who will speak for the 63.6 million babies? We will. Who will stand in the gap? Because I get it. As a member, you're supposed to have a right. You're supposed to have a right to talk about those who have died in your district. Who's talking about the 63 plus million babies who have died? Who's speaking? And you're right, I am. I don't know who said it, but you're right. And I'm going to keep talking about it, because the reality is that if we don't speak about them, they will be forgotten. And that is how society declines. Society declines because we refuse to say the uncomfortable things. And that is that we have traded the value of life in our culture across our country for the convenience of saying, oh, that's not a child. It is. It is a child. Not only does our Bible say that it's a child, but science tells us that it's a child. And so today we stand in solidarity. And I'm asking, if you are someone who believes in life in this chamber, I'm asking, will you vote no? Will you speak up for the 63.6 million babies who lost their life? Will you speak up by voting no on this calendar? Because members, it's very simple. A yes vote to this calendar today is to silence the voices of those who have no voice. It's to silence the voices of those who were murdered senselessly.
Mr. Little, for what purpose?
Mr. Speaker, does the gentleman yield for questions?
Does the gentleman yield for questions?
Once I finish, I will.
Not at this time.
Members, if you want to honor Jill Glover today, you will vote no, because there is no better way to honor the life of that incredible woman than to take down this calendar. And I'm expecting it. Republicans, I know you in this chamber. I know many of you, you have fought for the pro-life cause. This is the easiest vote you will take. It's to stand up and be a voice for those who have no voice today. Yes, I'll yield for questions.
Mr. Speaker,
For what purpose?
does the gentleman yield for
Does
questions?
the gentleman yield for questions?
Yes, I do.
He yields.
With great respect for my friend Representative Romero, I believe that tradition is too high a price to pay for my conscience. And I think you believe that too, don't you, Mr. Schatz?
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Mr. Shaheen, for what purpose?
Does the gentleman yield for questions?
Yes, sir, I will.
The gentleman yields.
Mr. Chasline, do you know how the memorial resolution works on the floor?
I do, and essentially what will happen is we have the option to register a no vote, but that no
Have
vote.
you ever done that before?
I have registered a no vote.
Okay, so what does it mean?
It means when you register a no vote, you can put it in the journal, but it cannot actually kill the resolution.
We're not asking to kill the resolution. I'm asking you if there's a line item on the memorial resolution that you don't agree with. And you gave a really nice speech about the pro-life movement.
I appreciate
And by
that.
the way, this body ended abortion in the state of Texas.
Well,
Okay,
I
so
would
the people-
venture
Hold
to
on,
say-
sir.
no,
I have
no,
not.
no,
I have
I'm
not finished. I have
No,
not
I'll
finished
respond,
asking
because
my
I'm
question.
For
Mr.
every child,
Members will not speak over one another.
Mr. Speaker, I would.
Members will not speak over one another. The chamber needs to hear the discussion.
For reason, all the more reason of why
I would
what we're
like to
doing
ask my
matters.
question. Can I ask my question?
You may.
Or are you afraid of something?
Am I afraid of something?
So when a member
afraid that
registers,
babies
can I ask my question? Can I ask my question?
Okay, fair.
Yes or no?
I got it.
Do you still yield for my question, sir?
I
Yes
do.
or no?
I do. Please proceed.
Okay. So when somebody registers a no on a line item on that memorial resolution, they are voting against that line item. I would say, sir, since you referenced the Bible talks about not deceiving individuals.
Agreed.
And I believe you are deceiving the public. You are trying to make people think that people understand.
I will. Mr. Sheen,
Sir?
can I respond?
Absolutely.
I believe you are deceiving the public because what you know to be true just as well as I do is that even if you register a no vote on that resolution still passes. Correct.
If it's the
Is
put
that-
up to the
is that
will of the
correct?
if it's put up to the will of the body,
But
body
is
it depends
that
on the vote.
correct?
But if an individual puts a no by that resolution, they are publicly stating they are
But does the
against.
resolution still pass?
Sir, may I complete my question to
Please
you?
complete it.
Is it not true? If you put a no by an item on the resolution, that member is saying no to that resolution.
They're not
and
voting no.
doesn't it say in the journal, like when you've registered no's before, doesn't it say in the journal that that member is saying no to that line item? Yes or no?
It is not a vote because the resolution will still
Sir,
pass.
yes or no?
No.
Does it say in the journal when I'm going to put a no on the resolution, and many of the members are going to put a no on the Cecile Richards memorial, they are saying they are opposing that resolution. Yes or no?
I will answer your question. The resolution will still pass if you do that, Mr. Sheen. I would
Thank you, but
ask
that's
you to
not my
vote no.
question. Will it show in the journal? Like when you've put no in the journal before, what does it say? Does it not show in the journal that that member is saying no to that line item?
The resolution still passes if you do that.
Sir, one more time. Here's
And I'll
my
answer the same.
question.
I'll answer the same.
If you put no, does it not say in the journal that that member is
not a vote.
registering a no? I'm not saying whether it passes or not.
Oh, well,
I'm
glad you
saying, does
acknowledged
it in
that.
the journal, when you've done it before and you've put no by memorial resolutions, did it not show in the journal?
I understand you want to register to no without voting no, but it does not actually kill the resolution.
Okay, well, remember what the Bible says about lying. It's actually one of the 10 Commandments
And
that's on
and
the,
I would encourage you to
on,
read
the,
that.
on the grounds of the Capitol.
I would encourage you to read that.
Ms. Slauson, for what purpose?
Will the gentleman yield for questions?
Will the gentleman yield for questions?
Absolutely.
Gentleman
Thank you,
yields.
Representative. You're aware that a couple of sessions ago we had several pro-life bills in this chamber, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And that we did in fact ban abortion in Texas, correct?
I believe we banned many forms of abortion, but babies are still dying through the abortion pill.
And was that before you were in the chamber? Or
It was.
You were, okay. I understand the difficulty of this particular resolution calendar today, and I feel it personally, as many of you do. I also see on here, do you also see that there is a resolution honoring Corey Comparatori, who was assassinated in Pennsylvania?
I do,
at
and
Raleigh?
yes, and I humbly ask that he would resubmit that resolution because someone needs to speak for the unborn.
And I don't disagree with resubmitting resolutions on here. You personally knew Ms. Glover, correct?
Yes.
I did not. Do I understand that you believe that it would honor her legacy to vote this calendar down today rather than have her and Ms.
Absolutely.
Richards on the same calendar?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mr. Schofield, for what purpose?
Will the gentleman yield?
Will the gentleman yield?
Absolutely.
He yields.
Mr. Schatzline, we voted several dozen times in this chamber yesterday, did we not?
We did.
And when you pushed a button, now, when it turns out when I pushed a button to vote for SB2, I didn't vote because it didn't register. But when you pressed a vote, it actually registered a vote, and if there were more nays than ayes, the measure would not pass. Is that correct?
That's correct.
When we enter a no in the journal, it doesn't have the same effect as an actual no vote, does it?
Now, Representative Schofield, that's exactly my point, is it doesn't. It will not kill the resolution. Even if every Republican registered a no, the resolution would still pass.
And in fact, we were told that the journal clerk could not take enough no votes to defeat a resolution on the calendar. Is that not correct?
That's correct.
So while we're giving ourselves cover by voting no, and we're telling our people back home we voted no, we didn't actually vote no when we do that, did we?
That's correct.
So people can do what they want to do and what their conscience dictates, but we're not actually voting no if we register a no.
That's
The
correct.
gentleman's time has expired. The chair
Mr.
recognizes
Speaker, I
Ms.
respectfully
Johnson.
ask for an extension. One extension.
There is objection to the extension.
We can start doing that. If you guys want to start objecting to all extensions, we can start playing that game. Will I get an extension, Mr. Speaker?
The chair heard an objection.
Yep, remember that, team.
A record vote has been requested on the extension of time.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Members, vote aye for an extension of time. Vote nay against the extension of time. The clerk will ring the bell. Show Mr. Schatzline voting aye. Show Ms. Bowers voting aye. Show Ms. Johnson voting aye. Show Mr. King of Hemphill voting aye. Have all members voted? There being 141 ayes and 1 nay, the gentleman's time has been extended. Mr.
Wanna-
Tinderholt, for what purpose?
Will the gentleman yield for questions?
Does the gentleman yield for questions? The gentleman yields for questions.
First, I'd like to say thank you to my peers for that vote. Allowing us to speak is important, so thank you. So registering a no vote is saying, if I had the opportunity to vote, I would have voted no. Is that correct?
My mic's on. My mic's on. That's correct.
But it's not a real vote of no. Pushing a button is a true recorded no vote. Is that correct?
That's correct. And that is the only vote that will have implications on the passage of the resolution.
And so the only way to remove this egregious resolution or memorial or recognition is to, you know what, I would expect a little bit more respect from my peers. This is a pretty big topic. As a matter of fact, I talked to the author and went to her and we talked very kindly about it. I'm disappointed in some of my peers in the way they're acting, but some of them, it's not surprising. So here's the question. What we're doing is we're forcing a record vote to remove this so that we can honor the 60+ million innocent, unborn, defenseless children that were murdered in the U.S. The organization that did it, she was in charge of. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And so you're forcing a record vote instead of a vote where you go on paper and you say, if I could have voted, I would have voted no, but we're not really voting.
That's correct. And I truly believe, Representative Tinderholt, we're going to be held accountable by the fact that what we said or refused to say in the face of this type of abhorrent evil.
So you are telling the truth. We had someone up here come earlier and try to make it out like you're lying. I don't think you're lying. I want a record vote. That's why we're fighting so hard for this. I've been here 10 years. I've recorded no votes more times than I count. But I wanted a formal vote to take this down. And my Democrat peers are in our back chastising and playing silly games. And you know what? It shows who some of them truly are. I want to vote on this, and I appreciate you doing this.
you.
I want to push a button and say no.
I
thank
want the
you.
same thing.
Mr. Speaker,
Mr. Money, for what purpose?
will the gentleman yield for a few questions?
Will the gentleman yield for questions?
Yes.
The gentleman yields for questions.
Mr. Schatzline, I have a few questions in case some people in the gallery or in the chamber or watching at home don't understand who Cecile Richards was. Are you aware that Ms. Richards was the president of Planned Parenthood from 2006 to 2018?
Yes, I am aware.
And Mr. Schatzline, what is Planned Parenthood?
Planned Parenthood is an organization that, in many ways, perpetuated the murdering of children.
Okay, it was and probably still is America's largest abortion provider. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And are you aware that during Cecile Richards' tenure as president of Planned Parenthood performed approximately 3,890,000 abortions nationwide based on their own annual reports and the Guttmacher Institute estimates?
I knew it was a large number. I was not aware of the exact number.
Are you aware that during Cecile Richards' tenure as president of Planned Parenthood, between 837,000 and 890,000 abortions were performed in Texas, according to Texas DSHS and Guttmacher Institute data?
I did not know it was that many, but yes, that's heartbreaking and really why we must vote this down.
Are you aware that Ms. Richards came under fire in 2011 for claiming, I believe on the Joy Behar show, that removing taxpayer funding for Planned Parenthood would deny mammogram access to women, despite the fact that Planned Parenthood does not provide any mammograms?
I was not aware of that.
And do you remember that in 2015, Planned Parenthood also came under fire for undercover videos that revealed it was illegally selling baby parts under Cecile Richards' leadership?
I was aware of that, and I'm glad you brought it up because I didn't mention it in my speech, but absolutely, I was aware of that, and it is evil, it is disgusting, it is vile, and that's why we must vote no.
And it is criminal.
It is criminal.
Do you remember in 2016 when Texas officials citing those undercover videos accused Planned Parenthood's Texas affiliates of Medicaid fraud, alleging improper billing for abortion-related services? And are you aware that Richards, as the president of at that time, was implicated in these oversight failures, possibly leading to the end of her 12-year tenure?
Yes.
And do you remember in 2017, after she had stepped down, when undercover video that revealed that during her tenure as president, Planned Parenthood was pressuring women here in Texas to have abortions and denying them prenatal care?
Yes.
Now, I don't assume that just because she did all of these horrific things and was one of the nation's most vocal advocates for baby murder, that there aren't other things in her life that she may have done that would be worthy of honor and recognition in this chamber. But are you aware of any of those things?
The only thing I'm aware of is the things that we've talked about thus far.
And you were here earlier in the chamber when we were asking questions of the speaker, and he told us he has no power to take down this resolution, correct?
Yes, the onus is solely on us to vote this down.
And we also talked, I believe.
Well, can I correct that? The onus is solely on us, or if the speaker or the chair would like to go ahead and remove it. So it can go either way, but we're going to vote this down, I hope.
I believe what he said is that the speaker has no authority, but that the chairman of calendars could have done so. Is that correct?
That's information I'm hearing right now.
I'm sorry, not the chairman of calendars. That's my mistake. The chairman of resolutions and local and consent.
Understood.
And that chairman is Jared Patterson, who is sitting on the dais behind you right now. Is that correct?
Yes.
And so he could have not brought this to committee, could have not voted it out of committee, and we wouldn't be dealing with this today. Is that correct?
I would hope that he wouldn't, and I hope that it gets pulled before we even have to vote.
I hope that he does as well. Thank you very much.
Mr. Speaker,
Mr. Little, for what purpose?
does the gentleman yield for questions?
Does the gentleman yield for questions?
Yes.
Representative
Gentleman
Schatzline, I don't think that any member of this body, Democrat or Republican, should be asked to drink a little bit of poison to their soul. If there is something in the calendar that is objectionable on any basis, no member of this House of Representatives should be required to vote the entire calendar up or down, Republican or Democrat. And I feel that this vote does damage to my soul if I have to vote this up or down, even regardless of registering a vote in the journal. And do you feel the same way?
Representative Little, I couldn't agree with you more. I actually think it does more damage than we're talking about. I think it damages not just the soul, but it damages the reputation of Texas. It damages the value of life. It damages the way that we view the unborn. It damages what we as the state of Texas allow to be codified into our law books or resolutions, that when we pass a resolution, what we're saying is we agree or we celebrate this person, this life, this initiative, fill in the blank. We do not, as the state of Texas, want to celebrate what was done by Cecile Richards.
Thank you, Representative Schatzline.
Mr. Speaker,
Mr. Anchia, for what purpose?
will the gentleman yield for some questions?
Will the gentleman yield for questions?
I will.
The gentleman yields for questions.
Representative Schatzline, you believe that abortion is murder, correct?
Correct.
You've said that, I think, repeatedly. You believe it is the killing of an unborn child, correct?
That's correct.
Do you and you have been very critical of Planned Parenthood. I haven't heard you talk about women who have abortions. Are they murderers?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Are women who have abortions murderers?
I think some of them unwillingly have committed murder.
Unwillingly?
Excuse me. I'm sorry. I think many of them, yes, have committed murder.
So
and
you
some
believe-
of them, hold on, let me finish.
Yeah.
And some of them unknowingly have been tricked and deceived into believing that life wasn't a life.
Okay.
Which is heartbreaking.
So for women who have volitionally had murder,
But just for the
sorry,
record,
let me
let's keep the
finish my
conversa-
question.
Well, let's keep the conversation about the matters at hand.
These are the matters at hand because
Yep.
you've raised them.
Great.
And so, if you believe that abortion is murder, then you believe that the women who have the requisite mens rea, who have gone intentionally to have murder, have not been deceived, you believe they are murderers, correct?
Right now, I'm opposing an amendment that would honor a woman who oversaw the murder.
The gentleman's time has expired.
Thank you.
That clip is probably about 10 to 15% of the overarching discussion that happened today between members of the legislature, the speaker, the calendar, the debate, back and forth. But here's what ultimately went down. The Republican caucus came together and removed the entire resolution's calendar. It was either that or vote the entire resolution's calendar down. So it is actually better to remove the calendar, because Republicans, I believe, were probably going to vote down the Cecile Richards resolution. They were going to vote down every resolution. And they were going to do that because conservative members of the Texas House of Representatives stood up and said, this is exactly what's happening. And I will even give Speaker Burrows credit. In earlier back and forths of the day, Representatives Brent Money, Tony Tinderholt, Mitch Little, Nate Schatzline all asked parliamentary inquiries of Speaker Burrows, and he engaged with them and answered their relevant parliamentary inquiries of him to help explain to the body that, yes, indeed, the only way to kill the Cecile Richards resolution was to vote it down. He could have obfuscated, and in the first half of the show, you heard me criticize the pace at which the floor is going. And if a lot of conservative legislation dies, Speaker Burrows and his chairman will be responsible. His chairman, Jared Patterson, was responsible for trying to basically play chicken with his own Republican colleagues and say, I dare you to vote all these resolutions down. We're going to celebrate the life of this child murderer. That's what Jared Patterson did. And Republicans on the floor, once it was made very clear that a vote for this entire calendar is a vote for that resolution, that even if 80 of us go try to register no votes, the resolution still passes, because once 74 people have registered a no vote against a resolution, the clerk stops letting you vote no, because it's not a vote. I'm grateful for Michael Schofield and his clarity and explanation when Representative Shaheen tried to act like this conversation was less than honest. Honesty won out today, and it did so because conservative lawmakers in the Texas House said we are not going to bow down to Democrats and celebrate death as we enter into the Easter weekend. And I hope that as you enter into the Easter weekend, you are reminded, tonight I'm going to a Maundy Thursday service. Tomorrow is Good Friday. If you have never been to a Good Friday service, please go to one. And then Easter Sunday. We should celebrate the fact that the Texas House of Representatives, in going into the Easter weekend, opted to say no to death, to say no to the celebration of death. Because on Sunday morning, when I hope each and every one of you walk into an Easter service, you are going to celebrate the one who defeated death, the one who rose from the grave, the one who is alive today and offers you life in him, with him for eternity. May God bless you, and may God bless the great state of Texas.